Talk Show. Recorded live.
Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror interview segment where we talk to writers and creators of today's genre worlds. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, creator of the Alex Van Helsing novels. This week we're talking to author Susan McBride about her new book, Say Yes to the Death. Say hello.
Oh, hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're with us today. I think it's going to be awesome to talk. For the listener, Susan McBride is the USA Today best-selling author of Blue Blood and the Lefty Award-winning, Anthony Award-nominated debutante dropout mysteries from HarperCollins, including The Good Guy's Girl to Murder, Lone Star, Lonely Hearts Club, a bunch of other titles, and this new one, Say Yes to the Death, which just came out, within a couple of weeks.
A week ago.
Yes. So this is like, I mean, in the business, what do you call it when it is the day a book comes out? Is it book day?
Yeah, we call it pub day.
Pub day.
Yeah.
When that happens, do you run around looking to try to find your book?
No. Oh, my God. I probably did when I started out 16 years ago, but now it's like it happens, and I'm like, yay, and then, I'm fixing Emily lunch and giving her bologna, so.
Right.
It's
Emily, I suppose, is your 3-year-old.
Yes,
so,
she's my 3-year-old.
So yes. you don't run around, but I guess what they do now. I mean, you can post it on your blog, and you can post it on your Facebook, and go, "Oh, hey, gang, I have a new book out today."
That's exactly what I do. I get on Facebook and I send out like an e-newsletter to my most devoted readers, and so they know what's going on. But yeah, I used to get out, and I used to go to like every bookstore within driving distance in St. Louis and sign stock, and I knew everybody's names, and I was really, really good. And then just through, the years that followed, I just got really bad. I'm kind of lax about it now, but I'm excited. It's always fun to have a new book out, and it's always scary because someone's going to hate it, and then the first review you're going to read on Amazon is going to just trash your book. And then,
do you do that? Do you read?
I'm trying not to, but it's hard. It's hard to stay away. I mean, I want to see what people think, and but it does crush me still. I try not to.
People can email you, right?
People can email me.
I mean, like your readers can.
Yeah.
But they can also post things on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, and everywhere. I mean, everybody has a voice online.
So you want to find out, hey, what are people saying? Are they liking it?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, in a way, it's like at this point in my career, I know it's not just my mother and my husband and a cousin, reading it and posting something. So I'm just curious to see what total strangers are saying about my book that they picked up at Barnes & Noble or wherever, or downloaded, from Amazon or Kobo, and it's still, it's still fun.
So do you? I'm going to ask you to read something from this book in a minute,
okay.
but I'm really curious. I mean, this is one of those things, just like people's process, that seems intensely personal about writers, and that nobody can quite agree on, because I don't know if it's healthy or wise to read what the hell people are posting online.
It's not. It's not healthy or wise.
But I don't know anybody who doesn't do it. I mean, in other words, I think everybody agrees that that you or any other writer you're talking to should definitely not read what they're saying about you online.
No.
I know that when it comes to themselves, we all, in fact, I think there's even a measure of masochism, because, like, if somebody says something that you, like, really disagree with, you remember that much more. It's sort of,
yes.
Yeah.
You memorize it. Yeah, you can quote it, like, a decade later. You still remember the really horrific things that people say. But
what do you mean amateur? What do you mean desperate?
Oh, my God. And what gets me, too, is when someone says, like, Andy Kendrick's, the debutante dropout, the sleuth in my book, is so immature. It's just hard to read because she's so immature. And I think, oh, my God, she's so much like me. Does that mean I'm immature? Are they really saying, you're immature, Susan? And then I think, well, I have a 3-year-old. That's good, right? I want to stay immature.
I can't believe somebody would say that. That is really hilarious.
I feel like some of them, that's why I should not read them. And I'm getting better. I know which sites kind of to stay away from more now, because there are some that I feel like haters just get on and unload, and that's what they do.
You should get, like, somebody that you
screen.
trust that you can afford to ask to do this. Now, there's somebody who would look for free or cheap to, like, just send you
the good ones.
Actually,
that would be
before we
awesome.
get distracted by that, I want to ask you to read a little bit from the book, if you could, just like 3/4 of a page. So let's start middle of page 30 with Christ, you're still playing Joan of Arc, to the end of the paragraph at the top of 31. Nothing more to say. This is a moment when Andy Kendricks, your main character, is fighting with a girl she recognizes from high school who's going to be a very important character in the book.
Yeah.
And we start out with the bad girl talking.
The bad girl talking, yeah. She's a wedding planner. Christ, you're still playing Joan of Arc, aren't you? Andy Kendricks, defender of strays, she mocked. At Hockaday, it was that scholarship girl, Molly. And now you're standing up for tired old pastry chefs who are past their prime. If I had anything to say about it, Millie would hang up her apron and retire. Luckily, it's not up to you, I told her. Isn't it? She said with such arrogance that I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from cussing her out, which I knew wouldn't solve a dang thing. It was sad, I thought, realizing some people never grew up. I had a theory that whoever people were in high school was who they were forever, at least at their core. Just because a body aged didn't mean a narrow mind opened or meanness morphed into kindness. I could envision Olivia bullying old ladies at the Shady Acres Retirement Center when she was 95. Maybe I wasn't the epitome of maturity, but I'd grown up enough to know that I was done being her victim. There had been so many times I wished I'd had the last word with Olivia LaBelle, but at the moment I had nothing more to say.
I wanted to choose that because I thought it was a really good conversation between these two characters, and I don't think we're giving away much to say that
the wedding
planner is going to wind up being the victim of the murder at the center of this mystery.
Yeah, I think it's on the back cover. It says that.
I think it's on the back cover. So it's okay. It's okay to spoil that.
Yeah.
But she's a mean girl, and there's so many things that we learn there. The first thing I want to ask, though, before I ask you about some of the details that you can pick up in that section, is the theory that Andy, your main character, this is like the 6th book with Andy in it, right?
Yep.
Okay. The theory that she just said, where she goes, people are what they were in high school, and yada yada. Do you believe that, or is that something that she believes and you don't believe?
I don't want to believe that. I kind of through the years wanted to think that people could really change, and people who were mean in high school, got older and realized what they'd done, and especially after having kids. But I don't know. I look at some of the people I know that are the meanest that have treated me pretty nastily through the years, and they're still nasty. So I think some people can change if they want to, and I think that's the key: is do they want to? Do they recognize in themselves that they're nasty and they bully people, or is that such a part of their personality, that they can't change because they don't see it? So I'm kind of with Andy. I think if you're mean at the core, I think you stay mean.
Do you think there's a gender aspect to this? And I say it because when I think of men, comparing men that I knew in high school to men that I know in my early to mid-40s, the whatever the hell you want to call that. That's ridiculous. It's 44. I'm in mid-40s. Anyway, comparing men in the in high school to now, what I notice often is a great deal of change. I mean, I find that
that's awesome.
Men who were jerks. I'm not saying for the better. I think on the male side, there's a tendency to just sort of gradually become a sadder version. I mean, I think I'm not. No, well, I don't say that.
No, I see what you're saying, but yeah.
People who were really fit football stars become sort of flabby and
bald and sell insurance.
Bald. So much of growing up involves profound disappointment. That's I don't know. I kind of feel like we are morphed by the world, but that's why I wonder if it's a gender thing.
I don't know. I mean, I do tend to think Mean Girls, if Mean Girls, if that's what gets them places and gets them people to follow them, I guess, because I wouldn't call them friends. And I think that's their, the behavior they learn that they carry with them through the rest of their lives. I don't know.
And that's a real thing, is it? I mean, this is me being ignorant. Are there really such things as Mean Girls who will walk up and say that tie you're wearing is really stupid.
Oh,
That skirt is embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, I have people in my family like that. And I do, and they call it honesty. I'm just being honest, but they'll just lay you flat with just a nasty line that's like totally unwarranted, and you can say, that was mean, apologize. And they're like, what? I'm just being honest, So I don't know. I do think women tend to be really hard on other women, and I think harder than men are on each other. But but I think we take relationships a lot, more personally, and we have more of them. So I think men tend to. I know with my husband, it's like he has colleagues at work, he plays rec league hockey, he has those guys, but like really I'm his best friend, and the other people are just kind of more like friendly acquaintances. But I think women tend to say like, oh, these people are my good friends, this whole posse, and
you're feeling things more deeply.
I think so. I think we're, raising a daughter now, I really think so much of who we are, like, as men and women, is genetically just there from the beginning. I'm watching her, and we've tried to be really kind of ungender biased toward everything and give her, she has trucks and she has blocks and dolls and she has just the gamut of stuff, and she still loves pink. Her walls are green, but she's pink. She's just a pink girl, and I did some wash today, and all her stuff I hung up to dry is pink. It's just what she wears, and so I'm trying to teach her, and I do think a lot of stuff now that I watch moms so closely, because I am one and I hang out with them. A lot of stuff that a lot of personality traits that develop in our kids come from us or whoever they're observing, the most, and I've seen moms, be kind of cold and mean, to each other and to their kids, and their smartphones are more important than their children, and I think that's affecting like kids growing up today, just sort of a detachment, and that kind of worries.
I mean, I totally am with you that we pick up our a lot of our personality traits from our parents. Down with that. Mm-hmm. But I find young people today to be much more, inclusive and curious and
I hope so. I mean,
I'm telling you, with a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old,
okay,
that kids today, in my mind, we hear horror stories all the time.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think people who complain about kids today wouldn't last 19 seconds in 1975.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I feel like the kids are all right.
I'm with you. I remember bullies like from my grade school. And,
sure.
And I hope Emily doesn't encounter any of that. I mean, like, I'm ready to go kick somebody's ass.
Absolutely.
On her. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be the mom they have to restrain.
But to get back to the weird bullying issue of this woman in the book. So you're saying that this woman who winds up getting killed, and it plays very much like a Perry Mason novel. In other words, you introduce somebody in the first quarter who is a horrible person, who many people really wishes were dead, and then they turn out dead. That's like a classic old Family Garden.
I love Perry Mason.
Yeah, for sure. But what I think is really interesting, and this is coming from me, is that it was almost a science fiction. I love mysteries, love them. But I mean, this is a world of women. I mean, it is a world of you spend an entire chapter trying to help somebody out of a wedding dress. Not to go to the bathroom. In other words, just because there's
a big old hoop dress. Yeah.
Right, and it is a world where there is, in fact, she has there's not. Did you do it consciously? The fact that she's got her love interest is on the couch back at home during
watching hockey. Yeah.
In other words, there's nobody saying, hey, Susan, you need to put a love interest into this and sort of work a relationship through the middle of it.
I mean, they've had a relationship since book one. They were thrown together because he was the defense attorney, Brian, for her, the scholarship girl, Molly, that was brought up in a piece I just read, and she's accused of murdering her boss at a restaurant called Jugs, which is like Hooters.
Sure. That's the other thing I was going to ask you about is about Texas.
Texas. Yeah, I lived in Texas for 20 years. So I went to junior high school, and started college in Texas at UT Austin, and pledged a sorority with a bunch of Dallas debutantes from Highland Park.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuck with me. They would practice their curtsies called Texas dips in study hall, and I thought someday, I didn't think someday I'm going to kill them. I just thought someday I'm going to use this in a book.
Yeah, and your main character is somebody who knows that world but has chosen not to be part of it.
Yeah, and I always felt like not a part of that. And I wasn't a debutante. I was invited to the deb balls and didn't go. But yeah, but I didn't feel like that was me. I wasn't comfortable in that kind of that world. So yeah, so Andy Kendricks is kind of all those feelings I had back then. I just infused in her, and so I share a lot.
Well, it's so keenly observed. I mean, you've done a wonderful job of
thank you.
Having her. Oh, you're welcome. Having her see this world and explain it to us, but explain it from the perspective of somebody who's spent much time in this world, but has chosen consciously to be kind of in it, but not of it.
Right.
I mean, she actually, she volunteers to help out with this wedding, even though she didn't want to go.
Yeah, her mom drags her.
Right. And her mom is there, and her mom is a true, to quote Millicent, to quote the wedding planner, is her mom is a steel magnolia, which has a meaning.
Right.
That she's a tough old girl.
Yeah.
Ann Richards.
She's a real Dallas society dame, for sure.
Yeah. And you talk about, I recognize so many things there. The fact that all these girls went to Hockaday, they're Hockadaisies. There's girls who went to
Hockadaisies,
Yeah, I mean, I went to school with plenty of Hockadaisies, and the movement of down the tollway, onto Northwest Highway. They're going to the mansion at Turtle Creek, which is probably the finest upscale restaurants in town. All this stuff is so keenly known, this world, and it's a very interesting and well presented mystery world.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So I have a question.
Yeah.
There's no language. What's up with that? How come there's no cursing? Is that something you choose to do, or your editor, or what?
No, it's just kind of the amateur sleuth, cozy market is sort of, it sort of frowns upon a lot of cursing. I mean, I throw a few things in there now and then because I can't help it, because it's what I think. But yeah, you generally avoid.
You don't use words like ass, or use words like crap. But that's like network TV level.
Yeah,
cursing.
well, that's kind of what it is. It's sort of like I write PG-13 in these books, and that's where they are. I mean, I've written other books where, I wrote a young adult mystery for Random House that came out last October called Very Bad Things, and that is full of foul language and gross stuff, a severed hand, all kinds of things. So that was more
like... It's so interesting that this is the world, and they're called cozies, you said.
Yeah, they're cozies. I mean, I kind of think this is, it's more like a modern traditional mystery, sort of like a little bit hipper Agatha Christie. So a tea cozy.
Which is why you have the same characters.
That continue in the series. Yeah, and it's hard. I think one of the reasons I took a break for so long from mysteries and mystery series was, you have to have the same characters stumble over bodies, like book after book, and it gets to be like Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote. Like, is anybody left in Cabot Cove? Is anyone alive?
Well, what that means is that people kind of accept that as a trope of that genre, and they'd probably be upset if you didn't do it.
It wouldn't work. Yeah, and even
this has to be the way that these mysteries work. How do you? I mean, I can't wrap my head around how you write a mystery. I love mysteries, but I've never made an attempt at it. Do you plan it all out in advance? I mean, how do you outline it? Do you have a template that you fill?
Yeah,
I'm
a pantser. I fly by the seat of my pants mostly. I have like an idea in which, like for this book, I shared the idea with my agent because my editor at HarperCollins wanted another in this series, and And so I gave her like the elevator pitch kind of, and then I start writing, and I sort of make notes for myself, like what needs to happen in the next chapter or a couple of chapters, but they're really kind of vague. I mean, I seriously jot down things in a notebook or kind of on my computer and keep just kind of a running, list of what stuff's got to happen. I usually try to write, in a linear fashion, so I'm doing chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but I've gotten to where sometimes scenes pop into my head and I know it's not the next chapter, but it's somewhere down the line, and I write it anyway. And so I work more in a patchwork fashion now, and I just piece things together. But I've got to write another Helen book now in a different cozy series for HarperCollins. They've all got Helen in the title. The first one.
How long? Well, oh yeah, that's right.
To Helen back, yeah. And the one I'm working on is called Come Helen High Water. So those are shorter.
How long does it take you to do one? Like say, I need to write a Helen book.
Yeah.
How quickly can I get it?
Those are quicker. I got to write this one in about 3 months. So I better get going.
And how long? Like if I look at say, how many words is this?
The Helen books are only about 55,000, so that's pretty short. That's sort of like a YA mystery.
And the Susan book, this looks like, I don't know, 90,
yeah,
95,
the debutante dropout mysteries are more like 80, 85. They're longer. They're about 350 book pages, maybe a little more.
Months to churn out.
It was like 6 months to write Say Yes to the Death, and mostly because I have the 3-year-old, and I just sort of have to grab time when I can because I've got her full time.
You try to get a certain number of words in a session?
I'm not really good about word count. I know people who say like,
You're like,
I do.
What are you talking about?
I know. I used to be so organized. It's like once I became a mom, it's like everything went, to hell in a handbasket. Oh gosh, I'll have to use that for Helen.
Hey, yeah,
there you go. But now it's sort of like, I grab time to write when I can, and I just do as much as I can in a sitting. And I wrote Say Yes to the Death a lot in the middle of the night, like when my husband was asleep and Emily was asleep and things were quiet. And the good thing about it was my inner censor was like asleep. So I was writing and I usually am such a critic. I'll go, that sentence sounded terrible. I have to tweak that till it's perfect, and I can work on a paragraph endlessly. So I think it almost worked out better that I would be writing like when I was kind of delirious, and things would be way funnier that I wrote. So, I just kind of stumble and bumble along through everything these days, and I do the best I can.
And so you allow yourself to make mistakes, and then you just
try.
go back and fix the whole thing.
I really like to consider the first draft as kind of verbal vomit. I just have to get it out, and it's going to be sloppy and it's going to be ugly. But I always know I can go back and clean it up, and that's
Absolutely.
I love to revise. So that's kind of my strong suit.
That's really so. First draft takes about 6 months.
Yeah.
And so by the time you turn it in to the person who's waiting on it, be it the agent or the editor.
Yeah, they usually read it at the same time. My agent, my editor.
I see. So that would usually be they're giving you a deadline that's like 8 months away, hopefully.
Sometimes it's a year. I just get myself backed into a corner, and that's my fault.
No, I understand completely.
But then they give me their feedback, and I usually have about 4 to 6 weeks to revise, and I work pretty fast when I revise, so I generally don't need that much. But I'm always so happy, by the time that the final draft is done, because I feel like they see the holes that I miss, and they ask the questions that a reader would ask. So I feel pretty confident by the time it goes to the printer and everything.
Very cool. And one thing that's different from when you started writing, you said 16 years ago, and this gets us back to where we started, you probably have more access to fans or they have more access to you. You can hear what they're thinking more than definitely you could in the 90s, I imagine.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
There was a time when a book like this would come out, and, the only people you'd hear from maybe would be reviewers, maybe.
Right.
At a couple of newspapers, maybe a really good magazine, or something.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to hear unless you went to a signing or something like that.
Right, and there are lots of mystery conferences and conventions, so I did do a lot of those, and then you get to talk to people. But now, yeah, it's all the time online. Yeah, on Facebook.
That is really cool. That's really neat. Has anything that a fan has ever written to you caused you to change the way you thought about a character or change the way another book would go?
I don't know. I remember talking once to another mystery writer who's like, New York Times bestseller Edgar winner, and he told me he really took to heart when fans would say like, "Oh, I don't like this character doing this or whatever. You really need to change that." And he said, "I pay attention to all of that, and I think I would never write anything if I listened to all this input and had to figure that into what I was doing." So I really appreciate when people tell me things, and there are people who really take things to heart that you write, and the characters really, are very real to them in many ways. And so I've had, lots of emails detailing things with various books and maybe how a character should handle something differently or better or whatever. And I appreciate that they took the time to write me, but I have to just go with my gut and write things the way I need to write them, or I would be working on the same book forever, I think, because I would be so afraid I was going to displease somebody. And I think at this point I do realize there are going to be people who hate anything I write or find fault in it or find typos, and I just have to accept that that's the way it is and kind of move on. Well,
people are often shocked at how stuff like I've asked people to raise their hand and making presentations. I go, how many people here have ever found a typo in a post book? Like and they'll raise their hand. And I go, do you want to know how that happens? And so I don't know if this is your experience, Susan, but my experience is the way a typo gets in is that we're sending red lines back and forth. You, the editor, and I, the writer, red, back and forth. You FedEx me like a final, galley that final fixes by pen. You do that. And then at the last minute before you go to press, somebody goes, "Hey, one of the readers came back with this problem. They say they say this sentence needs to be rewritten because something's wrong with it. Who knows? Legal. God knows." And in the new sentence you just put in, in theory, you're running alongside of a truck while it rolls towards the printer, you introduce a typo, right there. And that's what makes it through.
Now so much is electronic. Everything I do is electronic, the editing, and it's all the layering of the, when you do Word, whatever it's called. I can't.
Red lines,
and you do the tracking. And what I found happens is I will correct something or stat something or whatever, and it's like something gets in from the copy editor that should have been corrected, and yet what I wanted to stat is still there. So it's like the commingling of what should be and what shouldn't be, and you can't fix that. You don't see it again at that point after you get the page proofs and you go through it. So it's there's going to be stuff in there. I've never seen a book with no typos, and most of the time I'm so enjoying a book I don't really notice them. So
there are very few. I mean, truly, especially somebody like HarperCollins, which really does to this day employ editors. A lot of editorial houses have really gotten rid of their editors, but HarperCollins has real editors, and they're real editors.
I can attest to that.
And so very few will make through, but it's still a 99.9997% pure manuscript. There's going to be errors.
Well, and my Helen books too are digital first, which is different than these debutante dropout ones that are the traditional. They come out in print, audio, and ebook the same day, but digital first. It's the ebook first, and then the print book, and you don't get page proofs for that. You get a copy edit, but it goes so fast into production that there's a step that's skipped, and I didn't know that the first Helen book I did, and I think I counted 12 typos in there because people pointed them out to me, and so I went through and wrote them all down and asked if they could be fixed, at least in the ebook. if not future editions of the print book. And it's like I was kind of horrified. And then my mom's like, it's 250 pages and there are 12 typos. If someone has a major issue with that, then, their problem is deeper than you, so don't worry about it. But yeah, I would love for every book to be perfect, just, everything technical about it, mechanical, but what are you going to do?
It just is, and it's really absurd to fixate on it. But,
right.
Your name goes on it. So
right.
you're
right.
in the end, it's like this is just like I'm Oreo and I own that bag of cookies. When you eat the cookie, it's my product. Same thing. Susan McBride is the name on it.
I know, and I swear people think like I'm responsible for the cover and I'm responsible for the back cover copy. And I had one of these books once that revealed the second book in this series, Good Girl's Guide to Murder, reveals like a plot twist on the back. And I complained when I saw the cover copy before the book was printed, and it was like, too bad. I wasn't allowed to, it was like,
Well, and you don't get any, do you get any chance to, like, take a first crack at the cover blurb at all?
Now I do. I mean, my previous editor, no, I didn't. I really didn't get to change anything. I have an editor now who's really great about, like, letting me see stuff ahead of time and asking for my input, and she's been fantastic. So it just depends who you're working with and what their MO is and how they do
and also
things.
their schedule, I'm sure. In other words, it could be that the new editor might be nicer, might not. She may just plan her time a hell of a lot better.
Maybe, so they really were both. I mean, my current editor is super nice, and my previous editor for the series, who went to another house, like sort of after the fifth book, we were good friends too, and we're still friendly. But they just operated differently. So, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you probably. So do you pick the title?
I do, and in most cases they stay with it. The first book, Blue Blood, though, was initially called Death and the Debutante Dropout, and they were like, no, that's too long. Let's just call it a debutante dropout mystery, but think of something else. And then, oh my God, I usually go through like quotes, like going, oh, what's this about? It's about rich people and this and that. And I remember saying, how about Blue Blood? Because I think of blood, like murder mystery, and then Blue Blood, means something else entirely, and that suits it too. So that was one time when they made me change a title. But usually I've been really lucky because I know people who get their titles changed quite often, and I've gotten to use pretty much on every book but Blue Blood. I think it's been my title, or
cool.
They've given me a chance to think of a new one if they haven't liked it. So.
That's very cool. And of course, I assume, I'm just guessing, but I assume that, you're as surprised as anybody else when you see the cover. You see it early.
Oh,
probably.
Yeah, I am. And I feel like for this one, they kind of listened to me because I kind of envisioned this cake with like blood dripping out of it, and it's like, wow, that's on the cover. How did that happen?
Say Yes to the Death is a really inspired title. And
thanks. It's so funny. I've seen people mention the book places and call it Say Yes to the Dress, and I'm like, okay, no. I mean, that's what I'm playing off of because it is weddings and, there's
now, even I knew that.
I
said,
know.
The book I'm reading is Say Yes to the Death. And my wife's like, you know what that's playing off of, right? And I was like, no, gosh, please. Like,
the show that I still love to watch, and my husband's like, how can you keep watching a show of just women trying on wedding dresses? I'm like, you don't understand. It's a total girl thing, and he doesn't get it. So, but the title, it just works so perfectly. I mean, and I had that title, like, as we, went back to my agent and I went back to my editor with, here's an idea for the sixth book. Do you like it? When she wanted a sixth book. And she was like, oh, yes. And I think probably the title was part of the big draw. I was like, oh, that's perfect, because that show is so big.
No, it is a lovely title. All right. Well, we should wrap up.
Okay.
I want to say very much thank you for answering questions. I feel like I could keep throwing questions at you, but
we could just talk forever. I'm like a talker, and you're a talker too.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, it's true. But okay, people can find the new book, Say Yes to the Death, in paperback, or they can get Kindle, or even can get audio.
Yeah.
So that is really awesome, and you can find out about all of this at SusanMcBride.com. Thank you very, very much. It's been delightful.
Thank you, Jason. It's been great talking to you.
Absolutely. Have a lovely evening.
You
Say
too.
hello to the 3-year-old. All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.